Get started tapping some maple trees. Before we get out there, just wanted to go through the tools of the job for you. You don't need a lot to do this, and it's definitely a pretty inexpensive hobby, but just as a general overview, here's some of the things I use. First off, you got your gallon milk jug, or any kind of metal bucket to contain the syrup, or sap rather, will work. I like to drill a hole in the lid, which I'll show you later, and just run the tap line right down into. Here's a picture of the tap line. You got the spout and the tap that goes right into the tree where you drill. It's a 5/16 diameter tap. It goes down into this blue hose, and then it goes right into the gallon. Then you got a rubber mallet. You could use a hammer with a piece of wood, but the rubber mallet's just a lot easier. That way you don't break the tap when you're pounding it into the tree. I have a set here of spade bits. Again, the taps that I'm using are 5/16. So that's this right here, this spade bit right here. That's the one we'll be using. And then you got a cordless drill. And lastly, but not least, some duct tape to wrap around the cap where the spout, the tube goes down into the gallon jug. So, alright. So, there you have it. You got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things you really need to do this and get started. Alright, so let's go ahead and get out there and start tapping for some sap. Go ahead and get started with some tapping, but there's a few things I want to say just as a general overview. The date right now is February 14th, 2013. This is a good time of the year to start your taps because typically it's cold right now in southwestern PA. And the translocation of sugars throughout the tree hasn't taken full effect yet. All the sugars in the winter go down into the base of the tree and the roots, and then once the weather starts to break and it gets warmer, slowly those sugars and the nutrients that are stored in the roots through the duration of the winter start to move up into the tree branches and limbs, and then budding starts to occur, and then leaves start to form and photosynthesis takes place, obviously. Once the photo period becomes longer and it turns more into longer hours in this area. Longer hours of sunlight, excuse me. So, long story short, starting this now in February is good because we'll have the taps in ready to go prior to the weather breaking, and then when the weather does break, we can get a lot of sap from these trees. So, overall, point I do want to make is I'm an amateur at this. This is the first year I've ever done it. I have done taps before this year. I've been told you want to stagger them in the tree, and for a tree that's this size, you don't want to do more than 2 taps per tree. So I'm going to do 2 in this one. If it was a smaller tree, I'd only do 1. And this, I believe, is a Norway maple. Whenever the weather breaks and we start to see leaves, I'll be able to mark all the Norways and sugars that I see. I've been told you can only tap Norways and sugar maples. I'm not 100% sure. I gotta do some more research into this. If you know anything else prior to that, feel free to comment or suggest things to me. I'm open to that. Again, I'm an amateur at this point. I'm anxious to learn and help other people learn in this kind of hobby. So, one thing I do want to say before I drill any holes is I definitely like to take the most conservation-oriented approach as possible and leaving the smallest footprints I can on these trees that I'm going to be taking any kind of sap from. So I want to definitely only drill a couple holes, as few as possible. I want to pretty much go in as shallow as I can, deep enough for the taps. It's typically about 2 inches or so long, maybe 3 inches drilling in. You always want to drill upwards because whenever you get sap coming down out of the line into the gallon jug, you want, obviously gravity's going to flow down. So it's a pretty straightforward hobby though. It's not too difficult. So again, once the weather breaks, I'll post some more videos on exactly what to do after you have the sap, how to remove your taps, that kind of stuff. So, okay. So again, first thing I'm going to do is drill about 2.5 inches upwards into the tree. I want to ultimately put my taps in. I'm going to alternate them on this tree. I'll put one on this side, one on the other side. I also drilled a hole here in the top of these jugs. My plan is to run the chute right down into the gallon jug and then duct tape around here, just so that no insects can get in, and you know, if the wind blows, these things stay together. So another good thing to do is just more or less line up the jug with the tree. Make sure that you're not going to go too high for the tap. Okay, so I got my hole drilled, I pounded my tap in. If you're using plastic spouted taps like mine, you just want to, again, make sure you use a rubber mallet. So don't hit it too hard because you don't want to break it, and it is cold out here, so the more gentle you are, the better. Okay, YouTube, that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go do a tap on the other side of the tree, and then, like I said, I'll have some follow-up videos here in the future as I start to get more sap, and we'll look at the ratios between the sap and the syrup that you can yield, and we'll talk about boiling and all the aspects that follow up. So I hope this video helped some of you in some way. I'll just go ahead and zoom in on the setup I have here just to kind of clarify anything, and that's pretty much it. So here we go. Okay, so again, you got your gallon jug with some duct tape around the hose, going all the way up into the tree. You can see I got my tap in right there, probably about 3 feet off the ground or so. And again, you just want to drill upwards, pound your tap in slowly, drill like 2.5 inches deep, and then pound your tap in. You're good to go. Okay, YouTube. Thanks for watching.